we want you to know.
Remember the life of Charlie Kirk, a man who rose from a small-town childhood to become one of the most recognizable conservative voices in the United States, shaping debates, building organizations, and influencing millions of people through media speeches and activism. And to understand his life, you have to begin with his early years, because Charlie Kirk was born on October 14, 1993, in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, growing up in a middle-class family where his father worked in architecture and his mother cared for the home.
Makes these situations sometimes worse. So we just disagree, and that's fine. I believe that if you are on campus advocating for Hamas, that basically you as a visitor should not come to this country, period. All right. I think it's a pretty simple claim.
And from a young age, he showed interest in public speaking, leadership, and the idea that one person could make a difference if they had the courage to stand up for what they believed. And unlike many politicians or activists who go through long years of college or traditional political training, Charlie took a different path, because after high school, he decided not to attend a 4-year university, instead choosing to jump directly into the world of political activism. And this decision became one of the key turning points of his life, showing that he was ready to follow his own road instead of the one most people expected. And while still a teenager, he became active in conservative circles, writing essays, speaking at events, and connecting with older mentors who encouraged his energy and sharpness. And in 2012, at only 18 years old, he founded Turning Point USA, an organization that would grow into one of the most influential youth-focused conservative groups in the country, dedicated to promoting free markets, limited government, and what he saw as American values on college campuses. And with almost no money at the beginning, Charlie built Turning Point USA from scratch, going school to school, handing out flyers, speaking to small groups of students, and slowly creating a network of chapters across the nation. And within just a few years, the organization grew to hundreds of campuses, spreading its message through rallies, conferences, and social media. And for many young conservatives who felt outnumbered or silenced in classrooms, Turning Point became a place where they could gather, share ideas, and feel like their voices mattered. And Charlie, as the founder and face of the group, became a well-known speaker, regularly appearing on college stages, conservative conferences, and TV shows, where his direct style and clear arguments drew both support and criticism. But regardless of whether people agreed with him or not, few could deny that he had managed to build something unusual, a youth-driven movement with national attention. And as his influence grew, Charlie Kirk moved beyond student activism and into the wider media world, becoming a regular guest on radio and television programs, where he defended his views on economics, freedom of speech, immigration, and culture. And he also began hosting his own podcasts and shows, speaking daily to large audiences about current events, political battles, and the future of America. And through this, he gained a loyal following that saw him not just as an activist, but as a teacher and motivator, someone who could explain complex issues in simple words. And alongside this media career, he wrote books where he shared his ideas on conservatism, personal responsibility, and why he believed the country needed to protect traditional values. And while his supporters praised his courage to challenge mainstream narratives, his critics accused him of being too extreme. But whether praised or criticized, Charlie never stayed silent, and his willingness to speak his mind made him a constant presence in national debates. And another important part of his life story is the way he connected with political leaders, because over time he built relationships with many figures in the Republican Party, including lawmakers, governors, and even presidents, giving him a seat at the table of national politics while still being relatively young. And this unusual position, being a bridge between young activists and older leaders, helped him grow Turning Point USA into a serious player in American politics, hosting big annual events where thousands of students came to hear from top figures. And Charlie himself became a kind of symbol for young conservatism, showing that youth and politics could mix powerfully. And beyond politics, His life also reflects the new era of communication, because unlike earlier generations of activists who relied on newspapers or TV networks, Charlie used social media platforms, podcasts, and live streams to spread his message directly, bypassing traditional media filters and building a digital community that could react instantly to news and organize quickly. And this ability to connect with millions online became one of his greatest strengths, helping him shape narratives and keep his audience engaged every single day. And throughout his career, Charlie often said that his mission was not just about politics, but about culture and values, because he believed that if young people lost touch with ideas like hard work, faith, personal freedom, and love of country, then America would lose its foundation, and this belief gave his work a moral energy that inspired supporters even if opponents strongly disagreed. And when you remember the life of Charlie Kirk, you also see a story about controversy, because he was never someone who avoided conflict, and his speeches and writings often sparked heated debates, with some praising his honesty while others accused him of spreading division. But regardless of the criticism he faced, he stood firm in his mission, showing resilience and confidence. And this resilience is part of what made him a figure to remember, because in politics and activism many people fade away quickly. Yet Charlie managed to stay relevant and visible, adapting to changing times and keeping his platform alive. And another lesson from his life is about youth leadership, because he proved that you do not need to wait until middle age to make an impact in politics, and that with vision, courage, and hard work, even someone barely out of high school could build an organization that influences national discussions. And this message, empowering young people to get involved, to take responsibility, and to fight for what they believe, is perhaps his most lasting impact. And while his opponents may disagree with his politics, they cannot deny that he changed the way young Americans think about participation and activism. And his journey also shows the importance of persistence, because in the early days of Turning Point USA, he faced rejection, lack of funding, and countless skeptics who thought his project would fail. Yet he refused to quit, traveling non-stop, speaking at small events, and slowly building credibility until the organization stood firmly on its own. And this persistence is something anyone can learn from, no matter what their political views are, because it shows that determination and belief in your mission can overcome obstacles. And when you put all of this together, his childhood in Illinois, his decision to skip traditional college, his creation of Turning Point USA, his rise as a speaker, his work as a writer and broadcaster, his connection with political leaders, his use of digital media, his controversies, his persistence, and his call for young people to get involved. You see a life story that is both unusual and influential, a life that reflects not only one man's choices, but also the changing nature of politics in the 21st century. And remembering the life of Charlie Kirk is about more than just remembering one person. It is about understanding how youth activism, media, culture, and politics have combined to create new kinds of leaders who shape the national conversation in unexpected ways. And whether you agree or disagree with him, Charlie Kirk's story is a reminder that ideas matter, voices matter, and courage matters, and that sometimes the path to influence does not follow traditional rules, but instead follows the energy of someone willing to step forward and take the risk of leading. And as history looks back on his contributions, people will debate his words, his methods, and his impact, but no one will deny that he made his mark, proving that one individual starting small can reach millions and change the way a generation sees the world. And that is why, when you remember the life of Charlie Kirk, you remember not only his achievements, but also the lesson that leadership begins with the courage to act, the persistence to continue, and the belief that your voice, no matter how young or small it begins, can grow to shape the future of a nation.